This my two Satoshis. This my two Satoshis. Who need 2 cents when they can get double from stacking Toshis? Yeah, this my two Satoshis. Yes, your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another episode of My Two Satoshis. It is Tuesday, and I gotta give a shout out to my main man, Wired Sparks, again for the song request. He sent me another paragraph, people. He said, CB, the best scenario for El Salvador is for multiple nations in different regions to do the same thing as them and force the hand of the IMF, World Bank, FATFA, etc. Otherwise, they'll probably wind up a martyr example. I get Justin Sun vibes from Elon Musk. Cool dude, but let him in and he'll search for a leverage mechanism. And we're playing Musa Keys Vula Lomo today. I hope I'm saying that correctly. He's always hitting me with that world music, and I appreciate it, brother. Hope everyone's doing well today. Welcome to another episode. Today we are going to be looking at what Crypto Blood, aka Crypto Damas, has said for many months now. Even when we were nearing $60,000 Bitcoin, I said we have to test. And I know many of you have seen this on BitBoy's show when I've gone on there. For many weeks now, I've been saying $20,000 Bitcoin has to happen. Okay, 20,000 or even lower to shake out all of those weak hands or capitulate the markets before we head higher. It's not over. Cryptos are not done. I've seen this so many times before. That's why I can say for certainty that we have to touch $20,000, and we're getting closer. Earlier today, we printed about $28,000 Bitcoin on the tape. We've seen a small bounce back from those lows earlier in today, so we'll take a look at that, and I'll give you my assessment on what should happen next or how you should deal with that and position yourself. These are great buying opportunities, to be honest with you. These are blood buys, never in the green. So actually, these are excellent opportunities for you. And so we'll go over that. Also, we had the Bitcoin crypto China lockdown. Another crackdown came from China, and we'll talk about how this is affecting Bitcoin and is this a catalyst? I always say no. A bubble is always searching for something to pop it. So it's not that this caused the crash or the move down. It's just that it needed a reason to continue to sell off. So we have one here, right? So we'll talk about this out of Decrypt Media. Tensions are running high as Bitcoin's hash rate plummets and Chinese authorities issue new warnings to banks. And so we'll go over this article that talks about everything you need to know up until now out of Decrypt Media. Also, what do you know? Microstrategy stock tanks with Bitcoin as S&P and NASDAQ rally. Not a surprise here. I told you guys this was going to happen. When you allow the markets to heavily correlate you with whatever moves you're making outside of your core business, that's what it's going to be attached to. So when Bitcoin thrives, MicroStrategy stock, they're going to do well from an equities perspective. But to the contrary, if Bitcoin is not doing well, then you're going to see the same thing happen to the opposite side. That's what we're witnessing right now with MicroStrategy. I said many months ago that I thought they were getting overzealous about investing in Bitcoin. Not just investing, it's fine to invest, but when you add debt to it, it's a very volatile market. It's a double-edged sword. So when you add leverage or debt to any type of trade, there's pros and cons, and I just think you should not add too much leverage or debt to your Bitcoin positions as a company that has nothing to do with Bitcoin. But hey, that's just my two Satoshis on it. What does Crypto Damas know? Absolutely nothing, right? Bitcoinist. We've got another article. Bitcoin 2021's ROI nearly wiped out after the worst quarter since 2018. We'll look at these details as well. All three articles coming up on today's episode of My Two Satoshis. Let's get it. Before we start, if you guys find these types of videos informative, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and click that bell to receive more videos like this. Wouldn't be right without looking at the technicals and seeing what Crypto Damas has to say about these markets. Yes, we did breach the bottom side of that channel earlier today, and we actually touched literally right here, this wick we had back on May 19th of this year. We had a wick that occurred, and guess what? That's exactly where we bounced off of today. At this point, we're back inside the channel. However, you can draw a trend line like this to just monitor where we are with things, because I actually think we're heading lower. So I believe we're going to just bounce off of this and then head lower to that $20,000 marker or somewhere abouts. It may even dip lower than 20,000. This is cryptos. I said this on BitBoy Show a couple weeks ago. You know, you'll be surprised to the upside, but you'll also be surprised to the downside with this game. So just ensure that you have some dry powder ready so that you can take advantage of these moves, because the dollar cost averaging is how you make lemonade from these lemons that we're getting from the crypto markets right now. So that's what I think was going to happen. We're going to bounce off of this trend line and head lower. If we breach this to the upside, that is very positive news. To be honest with you, we may head higher at that point, but I'm just looking at the sentiment in the space. I just don't see it. Price action wise, it's been very absent of bulls altogether for a few months now. So that's where we are with that. Look at the heat map really quickly. Paints a different picture for Bitcoin. Shows it up 0.1%, almost 0.2% at 32,000. Again, very, very different picture earlier today. However, guess who didn't rebound? All the altcoins. They are getting slaughtered. We've got everything down over 10% or near it. Dogecoin down 8.3%. Yes, 19 cents Dogecoin. Not a good look. And if you remember, maybe about a day ago, I actually said that Dogecoin was going to 13 cents. Hope y'all are wearing protection, because this market will have you catching CTDs. I mean, these markets are very volatile. They don't have circuit breakers. And so this is what an unregulated free market looks like, ladies and gents. Just prepare yourselves for possible further downside here. At this point, if you haven't sold, it may be too late. Dollar cost average at best at this point. That's what I would be doing if you weren't able to sell at higher prices. Let's take a look at this first article that's really pertaining to Bitcoin and its last quarter, essentially wiping out all of 2021's ROI. So it's saying that it's seen its worst quarter since 2018, with returns falling down by 45.9%, but it still hasn't beat the worst quarter, to be honest with you. Q1 of 2018 was the worst, a 50% correction there. So far, Q2 of this year, we've seen a 45.9, almost 46% drawdown. It's not too far, but you got to remember the quarter is not over yet. So let's see how we end the quarter and what we print. That actually does say something, to see the worst quarter printed, possibly. That's why I'm saying 20,000 is possibly a floor for us, or somewhere near there. You never can time the bottom. All you can do is dollar cost average toward the bottom. And so the article talks about and asks the question, can the Bitcoin returns get any worse? Considering there are 8 days left in the quarter, it's unlikely that the quarter returns will get much more worse, but nonetheless, it is still well within the realms of possibility. It's worth noting that while the quarterly returns were worse in 2018, the Bitcoin year-to-date returns are still about 10%. And so in contrast to this quarter, Q1 of 2021 returns were about 102%. The reason for the collapse in Q2 is complex. Of course, we know we got recent changes with the China policy, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But again, I don't think that's necessarily the reason either. I just think we got ahead of ourselves. Blowing past all-time highs and not looking back is not a healthy behavior for any market. So as we continue to just climb with literally 15% corrections in between those climbs, which isn't enough, I said this is going on too far without us testing that all-time high or previous all-time high of 20,000. So we had to do it, and I'd rather we do it from 60,000 down to 20,000 versus 100K Bitcoin going all the way back to $20,000 Bitcoin. That wouldn't have been healthy at all. So we most likely will get very close to printing the 50% and maybe even beating the worst quarter we've seen in Bitcoin. But you know, Bitcoin doesn't necessarily go off of quarters. We just compartmentalize these periods so we have something to reference. But I think if we don't make it lower than 50% in 8 days, I still think we're going to see a touch of 20,000 in Bitcoin. So buckle your seat belts. Live by the Bitcoin, die by the Bitcoin. Microstrategy stock tanks with Bitcoin while we see S&P 500 and NASDAQ rally. Shares of Microstrategy plunged anew on Tuesday, extending an early week slump on the back of a highly volatile cryptocurrency market that saw Bitcoin briefly pierce below 30,000. So MicroStrategy did touch an intraday low of $513 today through the early morning session, capping off a 12% decline. Shares of the business intelligence firm collapsed 16.7% on Monday, erasing much of last week's rally. MicroStrategy has played out like a crypto proxy stock ever since the CEO, Michael Saylor, first announced the company's exposure to Bitcoin. Saylor's Bitcoin Gambit shined as positive spotlight on the crypto industry and contributed to the market's eye-watering rally between October of last year and May of this year. As a result, MicroStrategy's share price peaked at $1,300 in February before correcting sharply lower over the next few months. And so Saylor and entities under his direct control now hold over 111,000 Bitcoin. Saylor's new Bitcoin holding company, Microstrategy LLC, holds 105,000 Bitcoin for a total value of roughly $3.4 billion. And a lot of that is debt. Okay, so that's not just straight cash reserves from the company. These are leveraged buys or positions, the cryptocurrency market. And so this is what I have a concern about. Okay, first of all, no shade to Michael Saylor, but he comes out of nowhere in 2019 or so 20 saying that he's Bitcoin bullish. I mean, kind of late in the game. Like a lot of us have been here for over 7, a decade in the crypto space. So it's just funny when you see people that have the spotlight get all of this attention and act, he's going around, these people are having him on these shows and he's just a genius to everyone, but he got in 2019-20. All right. But my concern isn't how late he got in. It's just that how aggressively he is leveraging companies' funds to buy such a volatile asset class. I think it's irresponsible, especially if the company isn't directly dealing with cryptocurrencies, right? But hey, we'll see what happens with this. Just wanted to give you guys an update. I didn't know that MicroStrategy had touched $1,300 stock prices. That is crazy. Now trading at like $513. Not a good look. Not a good look. That's what happens though. And lastly, we'll take a look at this China crackdown. China has cracked down hard on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies over the past few weeks. Some of the new ordinances, however, very similar to previous policies from as far back as 2014. And, I remember 2014's China lockdown, ban, or whatever you want to call it. These types of things spooked markets, and ultimately they are short-lived as far as the lasting effects on cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. So I don't see this as a long-term hindrance to Bitcoin's price. Cryptocurrencies, of course, are in the free fall. The Bitcoin hash rate plummeted, and Bitcoin miners are frantically relocating their kit outside of China. It's all taking place against the backdrop of China's renewed crackdown on cryptocurrencies. But what is the extent of China's measures, and are they cause for concern or just more of the same? I personally think more of the same. Last week, China told miners that they must shut up shop while the country's central banks issued an edict to payment platforms and banks to cease cryptocurrency activities. Institutions were also told to stop servicing crypto exchanges and over-the-counter platforms. The crackdown, which gathered steam throughout May and June, was met with mixed reactions from analysts and insiders, particularly those that have been here before. Mike Novogratz said that China's news isn't good. Xi, he says, is an authoritarian leader who wants control over everything. Bitcoin is the opposite of authoritarianism. Chinese citizens will always find a way to move assets outside the system, but they are making it harder. And so to me, the interesting part about this whole China crackdown is that, China has a lion's share of the mining hash rate for the Bitcoin network, about 65%. All right. So I'm more interested in seeing how that plays out. I don't think it's a danger to the network. I think those companies will just move their locations outside of China and continue to mine Bitcoin. So I don't see that really as a problem either. And so with these shutdowns, these mining shutdowns, We saw hash rates of some of the biggest Bitcoin mining pools in China plummet by up to 37% after energy companies were ordered to stop providing power to mining firms in the province. Reports suggest that around 90% of crypto mines in China's largest province have now been shut down, prompting jitters in the market as miners rush to relocate their operations outside of Chinese borders. Look at this. This is crazy. A lot of these banks have now, this is like the next step. They've been really targeting banks. Initially, it was a lot of the mining operations, but now banks and exchanges are being targeted. I think personally, this is a move by China because of their digital yuan rolling out. This is an attempt by China to really clamp down on and weed out all the cryptocurrencies that aren't controlled by government agencies. So I think that's what's going on here. This is the final hoorah, and I think they're going to be successful, but unfortunately they can't stop Bitcoin and cryptos outside of China, and so they'll be left in the dust if they continue to have these draconian type of policies. So we'll have to see how this all pans out. It is a hit to Bitcoin, but again, my philosophy is a bubble needs something to prick it, right? It'll find something to prick it if it continues to grow, and that's all we have. And it's not over, right? I'm not saying this is like a long-term bubble in Bitcoin. It's just a small ebb and flow type of behavior we're having in this market, and that's part of this whole cycle. So don't get too concerned. Bitcoin 20,000 is still a possibility, ladies and gents. Watch that trend line. So we're talking about the price around 33,000. If you see anything above 33, let's just say $34,000, then we could be in a reversal to the upside. But anything below 34,000, we're heading lower. But that's pretty much it. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe, and also click that bell to receive more videos like this. A lot of people don't see my videos because they're not clicking that bell. So unclick it, re-click it, and that'll ensure that you see the Crypto Blood, aka Crypto Diamonds, my 2 Satoshi videos. I'm out of here, people. How?